people like to see you. How are you, Karen?
I'm doing very well. A little out of breath, but life is great. So I'm good.
I can't help but notice your lovely sign, faith, considering that's what we're talking about tonight.
That's it. I picked that up, if you can believe, at the dollar store. I gave it a little touch of paint just to make it a little bit more pretty, and it's all good. And maybe if I want to change it one day, I'm going to put it another. I would have liked to paint it white, but I didn't have any white paint around quick. So, but I thought, when I saw it, I said, we're reading the chapter on faith, and it's such a big part of the book, and it's such a big part of life. So I had to take it.
And it's such a misunderstood word.
It is.
It
is, because it doesn't always have to refer to religion. It can be spirituality. It can be faith in yourself, which is tantamount to self-confidence. So yeah, it's a small word with a big meaning. And
I love one thing about it. I love that we can scream, believe in yourself all over, and everybody would agree. And there's certain things about religion we could scream as well. Love is in all forms of religion, love. But religion is personal. It's in your home. You don't scream it, you live it in your home. And you respect others when you do that. So that's what I love about faith in the way Napoleon Hill really shares it. And it's one of the principles that I find very interesting, because his principle, applied faith, one of his 17 principles, he actually has a chapter on faith in the 13 Steps to Riches. They're different, but yet they're there. So now I'll let you start.
So tonight, we're going to start with me reading you a poem.
Oh, I like it.
So I'm just going to introduce it by saying the law of autosuggestion, through which any person may rise to altitudes of achievement which stagger the imagination, is well described in the following verse. If you think you are beaten, you are. If you think you dare not, you don't. If you like to win, but you think you can't, it's almost certain you won't. If you think you'll lose, you're lost. For out of the world we find success begins with the fellow's will. It's all in the state of mind. If you think you're outclassed, you are. You've got to think high to rise. You've got to be sure of yourself before you can ever win a prize. Life's battles don't always go to the stronger or faster man, but soon or late, the man who wins is the man who thinks he can.
I love this, and I love where they say observative words, which have been emphasized. So anybody that doesn't have the book, there are words in this that have been emphasized, very few of them, only 4 of them. And it ends with them, right? Who thinks he can, which leads me to the question to everybody in our community. What do you think you can do? More importantly, what are you telling yourself that you can't do, and stop it? Just stop it. Right? And if you have to borrow somebody's faith, borrow mine. Just borrow it. I lend it to you. I give it to you with my hands to yours. Just take it and stick it inside and say, I can. And the only thing that should stop you is when you say, I don't want that. That doesn't suit my life. That doesn't serve me well. Not that I can't do it. Not that I'm too old to do it. Not that I don't have the education. Not that I don't have the money. Not that everybody in the world told me I couldn't do it. Not that I'm not smart enough. Not that I'm not physically fit enough, because I don't want to do that anymore. Or I don't even want to do it at all. That is the only reason to give up on yourself.
Not to give up on yourself.
I love your guy. I can always count on you, Karen.
Almost gave me a heart attack there.
I know. I was waiting. You're still on. You're awake. You're there. Even if
I'm
it's the end of the
listening.
day. Yeah, yeah.
I'm paying attention.
But you know what? This is the big question. Are you, who's in our community right now, if you're here live, are you listening? Like, I love last night, and I can't say it enough. Roxanne, one of our very own, though she can probably deliver this stuff and teach it, she decided she was going to participate in a intro to vision mapping. And I know I caught everybody by surprise because I did something that I'd never done. And I always love doing that. Doesn't matter how many times you come into a room with me, I'm going to find something that you haven't seen. And to hear Napoleon Hill, like, it means a lot when you hear somebody actually say to you, and it's to you, this message is for you. And if you're listening tonight, you know, we're going to give you the same message, because the most important person in our room is you, the listener. And that's what Napoleon Hill said. And that's what we allowed. Like, for us, we shared that because I studied from the foundation. So when I heard it, I felt, you know, if he believes I can, you know, if I believe in me and he believes in me, then it must be true, right? That's two confirmations. So if you need a second confirmation because you don't believe in something, hop on a Zoom, hop in the chat, get to Karen, Karine, or I. We'd be glad to tell you, you know, take a spin and go home to you. Just like was it Wizard of Oz, where she clicks her heels and goes home, that it was always there? A great message. It's always there.
That's funny. I sang that song today when I was leaving somebody's office.
Oh, yeah?
Wizard.
Oh, I love that song. The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. Dun, 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 dun. I love that
Yeah.
song.
Yeah, it's just a serendipitous, my word again.
This poem for me is like the other one. Did we read the I bargained with life for a penny and life would give me no more? Did we get to that yet?
No, I don't think we got to that. I think that's a little bit further.
Oh, wait till people get that. But you know what? It's all like, you know, sometimes somebody will say, oh, you make it sound so easy. You know, it is easy.
It is easy. It is not difficult.
But it doesn't mean it isn't with its adversity or challenges, or that I smiled all the way. But when I look back, I say, oh, I'm glad it didn't happen that way. I'm glad it didn't happen the way I thought I wanted it.
But you know, it's like we've said many times before, it's, you don't have to climb the whole ladder. Just take the first step. And bit by bit, as you put one foot in front of the other, you realize that you've moved forward quite a bit after a little bit. I'm going to talk just very quickly about grief. And as long as you're moving forward, if you're grieving, that's the important thing. And there's going to be days where it's really difficult and you have to take baby steps or crawl. But as long as you're moving forward, you're going in the right direction. There'll be other days that you're going to go in leaps and bounds and everything is going to be good. You're moving forward. It's if you start moving backward that you have to start considering getting some help. But that's one of those things. And when I went through a situation where I had to deal with a lot of grief, this is what I was taught, what I learned, and the only way past is through was probably the favorite term or the favorite expression that I learned when I was going through that. And I think of it not only in terms of grief, but a lot of things in life. This is a means to an end. I'm going to get to my goal, even if what I'm going through right now is difficult. I'm going to get there because that's what I want. So you sometimes do have to go through harder things. But my point in saying that was just get through, take steps, move forward. Even if it's really, really slowly, just move forward. a little bit is good.
And you know, I'm glad you just brought that up, because I remember a moment, because as you know, and we're not going to go down the road, but it was almost horrific. And there's a lot of horrifying things that happen in the world, what happened with my mother. And it left me with nightmares sometimes. And I was so glad that I had these philosophies and my beliefs, because I experienced grief, horrible grief. But here's the thing I also experienced. I experienced moments of great laughter. And you can just imagine while the tears are going down and you start to laugh and the person looks at you and says, "You really find this funny? Like your mother died." I actually do. You know something? Why do we have to only be sad? Why do we feel, oh, I better act sad, like I better wear black, like I better follow protocol. I'm in a funeral home. Do not make a joke. You know what? Just be you. And if you feel like crying, I remember somebody said to me, I was really, really sad at a funeral. And I was, from the world's perspective, I was one of 800 in a room. And the person looked at me because I had a tear, and somebody says, "Don't cry like that. You didn't know him well enough. Don't cry like that. I didn't know him well enough." Another person looks and says, "How do you know him? How do you know him? They sit on a committee with him." I sat and had a chocolate bar once a week with that man, and I loved him. And you know what? And I loved him. No, I wasn't related to him. No, in that room, I was meaningless, but he was meaningful to me. And then at one moment, you feel so excited and you remember the fond things and you go into a fit of laughter, and somebody looks and says, "Didn't you just lose your mother yesterday?" I did. But you know what? Give yourself permission to laugh as well. Because we know the crying, okay, well, it's normal. But when you start to laugh, you sort of feel guilty that you're having a good time. Or when you're going to come out the other side, you're going to have good moments. That's a guarantee. And when you come out, don't feel guilty because you're okay. Because the person that left is happy. The job you lost, they're not thinking of you. They really don't care if you're happy or you're sad. So while you're sitting, be sad when you're sad. Don't stay too long. Laugh when you're happy. Don't stay too long. Because if you're laughing too hard or crying too hard, you miss everything. You miss everything. Everything happening in front of you because you're so self-absorbed with all these thoughts, because they both give them to you. So I think that was the big thing for me, was learning that grief doesn't mean I always have to cry. I'm still grieving. Hey, Mom, I still miss you today. I'll always miss you. I'll always think of you, but I don't have to cry. I don't have to be lonely. I have to just wrap myself and have a cup of tea in her cup that she gave me. Right? I love that. I have faith. I believe that the universe unfolds and will give me what I need to get to the next step.
So it's a gift of having blind faith, which is a wonderful, wonderful gift, and maybe a topic for another day, because I see it's already 7 o'clock and we're about to start.
Our community is going to start coming in, and I love it. Roxanne, I'd love to see your face. Say hi to everybody in Dockside. You're a member in Dockside. Now we're getting ready to, if anybody's listening and says, "I want to join that book club," how do I do that? Go to Sage Navigation and register. You will get a letter with a link. Roxanne, do we like new people?
Yes, we do.
Roxanne, do we like new people?
But for some reason, we're echoing, so I must have you on in 2 places.
Well, it's all okay, because I'm going to stop in a second so that we can get on to our book club. Anybody that's listening that says, "I want to go and check that out," please go sign up. I'm going to end the